Right. So last week we covered up to the document object model removing and such. This week we are going to extend by doing event handlers. So when you're talking about event handlers, let me just bring the LMS. Remember, this is the prime session, so take in note of the class today. When you talk about event handlers, we're going to just cover, I'm not going to cover this, this I'm just going to cover next time with a few things, but today, majorly we're talking about event handlers because that is the major thing. The others, they're not major, so please just bear with me. Plus, we are trying to cover the most important thing because we are late. Our classes were interfered by holidays. So we are trying to cover the most important part. Then next week this week on Wednesday from 2 p.m., just like all other modules, we ourselves are going to do our own catch-up. So we are going to do our own catch-up class, which is we are going to cover from wrapping up basics, just paraphrasing through basics. We already did a catch-up class for introduction to JavaScript, so a few things on HTML, CSS, touching a few things on JavaScript within a span of 2.5 hours. Then we are going to get done. The remaining slot we are going to cover in the next week, Wednesday, catch-up class again. So it is going to allow us time. So for today, it's just about event handling. Then you are going to do maximum two projects, and then we are going to call it a session. So it's not going to be a long session. That is why I didn't have that hurry of starting the class. Okay, so a thumbs up if my screen is visible enough so that I can be able to start the lesson today. Let me bring it up. Nice. Where's web, yeah. Week 7. Hold on, I transfer a few things here that I did in the morning so that I can have space for this class. All right, so event handlers. These things are the apex of JavaScript, like I told the morning class. After covering this one, I think you guys are going to be great, and it will be really interesting for your journey. So let me just bring it up. It is the journey that you are on for JavaScript, because after this, I think you guys are going to be ready for the specialization ManStack. Because on ManStack, we have MongoDB, Express.js. MongoDB is the database, no SQL database. I know you have been taught SQL1, MySQL1, so I'm going to take you through NoSQL, MongoDB, and then Express.js, which is our backend. That is where we're going to understand about APIs. We are going to use REST API. And then from there, we can jump on to React. After React, we combine all the three. ManStack is MongoDB, Express, React, and Node. Node is not a framework. Node is not a language. Node is a runtime environment for JavaScript frameworks and JavaScript itself. Just like in our class, we've been running our code bases using Node. So don't be mistaken for that. And then we take a look at WebSocket that is going to establish a way of communicating real time. Just like WhatsApp, you can be able to see so-and-so is typing, so-and-so is online. So we are going to use WebSockets, but essentially we'll be using Socket.io. And then we see everything to do with the DevOps, how to iterate on deployment via GitHub. And then, hooray, we are going to start our project, final project for graduation. And then it is going to be done. Then you're going to be taken to pitching for those who are going to have outstanding projects. After pitching, we are going to take you through a 1 month training for via the Talent Hub, who are going to train you for the job readiness. Because after you being a developer, it is now time for you to get ready to be hired. So how are interviews conducted and so on? Because not everybody is going to start a startup. We have two categories. Those who are going to be pitching ideas, they're going to be pitching for graduation, but we have other people who just want to get jobs. That is the majority. So Talent Hub department, led by our human resource management head, they are going to take you through 1 month of talent, not talent. They're going to take you through 1 month of rigorous training on industry standard. What should you know? What do you know? Do you have to know when you're approaching an interviewer? What to know, what to say, what not to say, so that when you go out there, you're primed. How to create your CV, how to furnish it, and so on. For me, I've attended so many interviews, and just to give you a sneak peek, because the rest is not going to be so long. For me, I've done so many interviews, so many high-level interviews. I've done one on Turing. This one of the hardest platform, even to pass an interview. One of the hardest platforms called Turing. These people are tough as they come. Yeah, it doesn't seem like hiring, but these people, they focus on interviewing developers and taking them to OpenAI, Google, and so on. For international clients, then we have, when you want to go to your prime and say, now I'm good, you have to tackle lit code. This is data structures and algorithms. This is where your developer essence is going to be tested. Are you a developer or just pretending? Things that I hear, for me, I have an account for like 2, 3 years now. Not to scare you off, I'm not trying to scare you off, but it is not easy to pass interviews here. When you pass interviews on data structures and algorithms, you guy, you lady, you are going to succeed, because a lot of high level companies that are so many of them are abroad. They normally conduct the interviews via lit code. Others conduct the interviews via HackerRank. Yeah, others conduct the interviews via HackerRank. So coding text, this is where you code live without browsing. So whatever you are training you here, even if AI is going to take over, can you pass the interview first before using AI in your job? Yeah, so as a developer, you're safe. You are safe. You're totally safe. Let me log in. Let me see. You're totally safe. So for you to get here, no worries. Don't get scared. For me, I mean, I've been having my account for how long? Let me check. Uh, Let me go to my profile. No, no, not there, not there. Don't want premium access. Come on, I want to see where I am right now. Problem. Going to just bring me the problem set. I want to show you something. Um, Appearance, blah, 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 settings. I've been having my account for quite some time now. I don't remember when was the last time I logged in. No, you see, this one is a PLP one. So I think since 2022, just after my graduation, we graduated at KICC during our days. So we were in the pioneering cohort for like me, instructor Nelly, we have Eric. For the community, we have Jafet, we have Munene. All of us we were in cohort one. So it was long time ago. 2022, not long time ago per se, but what I'm trying to put across here is that it gets better when you practice. It gets better when you practice. Yeah. It is not easy. If it was easy, it would be worthless. So for you to get to a point where you understand these things, data structures algorithms is not a hard thing. Because as soon as you understand data structures algorithm, after you understand these things, trust me, categorize them into two, data structures aside, and then algorithms. When you have to understand data structures, then you understand algorithms. Trust me, it is going to be the baseline of your development. You understanding how data is flowing. Understanding how data is flowing, that is the most important thing. For example, the most easiest question on LeetCode, but I'm very sure 99% of developers are going to fail this question. 99% of developers are going to fail this question. You remember the way you are in high school? I'm just trying to give you the perspective of why programming is important before I jump in the class, so that you can be attentive as much as possible, regardless whether AI is coming or not. Trust me. ChatGPT was launched 30th of November 2022. I was in an interview at that time. I was in an interview for a Django developer position at a certain company. I was interviewing at that company without ChatGPT or anything, but I passed. So, and I was able to build a couple of solutions in that company using Django. So, you remember when you were in high school, you are given those mathematics concepts in an exam, and you are told you read it through, it's like a problem, then you solve it mathematically. Exactly the same thing that applies here, whereby you just take, you just read something here, you interpret it how you interpret it. After you have understood, now you solve it programmatically. So you use programming languages to solve. We have tons of programming languages that you can be able to pick from. My favorite is Rust. I have Python, and also I have JavaScript. Those are my three favorites. So it gets better. You just don't worry, it gets better. But practice, 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 practice. If you're not going to practice, just a good example so that you, next time, you are really focused. Algorithms, set of step-by-step instruction to solve given problem or achieve a specific goal. Then you have data structures, DSA. These things are good. These are good. You see, they are nice. Embrace them. Not just building websites with the AI. No, 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 no. That's just vibing. But a time will come whereby they will need problem solvers, not vibe coders. Problem solvers. Yeah. How well can you think? Can you think beyond the AI? Anyway, on a nutshell, not to bother you by the way, or scratch your brain. So, document object model. I want to bring it in a simplest, most exciting way. Let me align my nose. So document object model, we have already covered. It's about time we do events. So when you hear an event, you hear something like, just a normal definition. An event is any interaction or a system triggered action in the browser. When you go to the browser, when you go to the browser, you can click here, then the entire page or the entire window refreshes. You see, that is that's an event. When you scroll down, you can see this part is not scrolling, this part is not scrolling, but only the middle part. When you click something, let's say I want to edit this module. I want to do something. After doing it, I save, goes to the database and does anything that I want. That's an event. So events like when you click a button, when a form is submitted, when you press a certain key, when you press Control T, it opens a new tab. When you press Control W, closes that tab. When a page is scrolled, when a page is resized like that, that's an event in JavaScript. That is possible using JavaScript, not PHP, but think. So the browser detects these interactions and gives us a chance to respond to them using event handlers. So what are event handlers? I'm going to talk about that. So I've already explained what are events. So just to bring it in a very good way, let me go back to my code editor. So events.js. So when you talk about events, a good interaction to do or check a syntax is when you see something like this. So you have an element, then you have the add event listener. So the event listener, we have two categories. We have add event listener and we have remove event listener. So when you add event listener, you trigger a certain event, you follow it by a handler function. A handler function is any function that when this event is triggered, this function happens. Let me bring this childhood memory. Maybe some of you have it, but I was brought up in the low background. So you remember when you are taunting your friends in school, you tell them, in Swahili they say, piga hapo uone, or let me interpret that in English, you hit me and see. So you are taunting your friend to trigger you so that you can do something. So they can trigger you, you start crying, or they can trigger you, you fly away, or they can trigger you, then you fight back. So although these three actions, crying, fighting back, or flight, these are handler functions because it was triggered by you taunted that person to do something to you. I hope you are relating to that. I'm just trying to bring it to the way you can be able to understand. You see, somebody like something happens when you press a switch in your bedroom, light comes up. So what happens so that light comes up? So when you switch on, the function is now the electric circuit. It is triggered to switch on the light. When you open your laptop, certain processes come in, a function like enter your password, navigate here, navigate here, navigate here. All of these were triggered when you pressed a button to start your computer, to boot your computer. So this is just an example. So this element can be anything. This element can be anything. And later on, I'm going to bring it to you in a way that you can be able to understand. So first things first, when I get to event propagation, there's something that I will explain so that it can be able to come to you now. Okay, yeah, you're going to understand now document object model really, really well. When you get to event propagation, which I think, let me see, which I think it is going to be the last sector for our event because we are not going to cover much. I'm just going to give you the theoretical bit of it, but the practicality of it is where we are going to do the 2 or 3 projects. That is where you're going to see the practicality of it. And then you're going to, oh, yeah, so this is now JavaScript. Now, without JavaScript, this was not possible. Just wait for it. So, event listeners. Now, to give you an example, I can give you 2. I can give, let me give you 3. So we have an event that can have a function name. So something like that. When you have something like that, so like I told you, this is an element, so it can be any HTML element. It can be a div, it can be a button, it can be a form, any HTML element. Or more so, it's not just any HTML element, any document object element, any document object model element, DOM element. Let us just be clear on that. Because when I talk about DOM element, it is different from HTML because DOM, it works differently, and you've already seen that. So how is this different? So this one calls it by reference. As you can see, we have a function. Then this function was called now. as our handler function. Instead of just putting this one in here, we can just call its name. When the click event is performed, we can able to see this one. You see? Now, let us do another one. This one is for a function with a function name. How about another one with the, let's say, anonymous function? So when we talk about anonymous function, it's just like a function without a name. I think you have already been taught that. So a function without a name. Same thing, but a function without a name. And then we also have the one that we normally talk about, the arrow function. So the arrow function, as you can see, the arrow function doesn't have the function keyword, but you have the parentheses and the arrow that you're putting there, the equal sign and the greater than. This one is greater than sign, and the equal sign joined together, forming an arrow function. But all of them, they work collectively together to just give us an event listener environment. Now, when you talk about this, something should come to mind. Something should come to mind when you talk about event listeners. Let me just open this one in a different environment. Then I can load the previous content easily. So, what are the common events that we normally talk about? What are the common events? Because we are talking about event listeners. So, what events are we listening to? When we talk about listening, it's not putting your ear to it and listening. No. When you say we are listening for an API call, it is a way for waiting for something to happen. That is like saying in programming, listening, waiting for something to happen. So we have common events in JavaScript. We have mouse events. So when you click something, when you double click something, when you press your mouse button or you release. So mouse down, you press your mouse button. Maybe your mouse button, it can be, it is right click most of the time, or it is left click, or you release it, that is mouse up. When you mouse over or mouse out, so you over in or out, that is everything to do with your mouse. That is can be a touchpad or mouse. Then we have the second category, which is the keyboard events. So here we have three main. We have the key down when you press a key on your keyboard, a letter or any key. When you release it, that is key up. When you key press, like when you type, so it is consistent key down. So when you press, like when you type something, like that. Then we have form events. So that is submit, we have change, we have focus. Focus and blur, I think, is one of the, it falls under the same category. So, so form submission, like just like in Google, Google Forms, you submit a form, then you can change the value, like the input, the select and everything. So when you want to update something, that's what you can do. You can focus or blur on it, like you can input gains or lose gains, like you focus on it, like, just like in camera mode. Take a look at a camera. You can focus or blur. You focus one part, you blur the other part. That's like a form. You can focus, then blur. Then we have document, or you can say window events. So window events, these are like the normal window. You can load it. Like when you let the page fully load, you can resize the size of the screen. We are talking about the browser, not any other screen, the browsers. Then you can scroll through. You have seen that in our LMS. Then you can unload, like leave the page, so that sometimes the browser removes the functionality for anything that was happening in that page. Then when you get back to the page, it loads again. All of these are events. So apart from all of these being events, every time an event occurs, the browser creates an event object. Every time an event occurs, let me repeat, the browser creates an event object containing details about the interaction. So just to get you clear, it is not hard, by the way. It is not hard as we think. That's an event object. So you have to understand that. So let me talk about event propagation. Let me talk about event propagation because everything about event listeners, you're going to find that we are only focused on only this part. Dot add event listener, then the type of the event. But this one, we know how to write a function, right? And this one, we are going to see, we already have covered that in our document object model introduction. We have already covered that. So let me talk about event propagation. When you hear about event propagation, this thing normally confuses people. The morning class people are almost confused. So when you click on something, have this analogy. When you click on something inside a nested structure, when you talk about a nested structure, like a button inside a div, let me just bring up something and show you the nesting, HTML5. So when you talk about nesting, you can talk about dot button. So in here, you can see the button is inside. The button is inside a div. So this one is called a nested structure. So the button is inside the div is inside the body. So what does that bring to your mind? It brings something called document object model, so DOM. So this is where we have two phases of events. So we can access our events from the grandparent or the ancestor to the grandchild. What am I trying to say? I'm trying to say you can access button. If you want to access this button, you start from document here, then you navigate to HTML, then you navigate to body, leave the header. Header is not part of our body. So document, you go to HTML, you go to body, you go to div, then you go. So that's how you can able to access that button. Or you can go reverse way. You start button, you go div, you go body, you go HTML, then you go document. So this one is the usual one. So we have two phases of handling events in a browser, two phases. When I talk about two phases, I'm talking about this kind of phase. Two phases. So the first phase, which is the rarely used one, rarely, it is called the capturing phase. So allow me to bring in a visualization for the purpose of our understanding. So we have the capturing and the bubbling. So when you hear about the capturing, you start from the document, you go to HTML, you go to body, you go to div, you go to button, just like that. Understood? This one is the rarely used. We rarely use this one. So like the event is being caught on its way down to the target. So start document, HTML, div, body, div, button. That one is the rarely one. But the most common one that is normally used is called the bubbling phase, where you start from button, which is the target. You start from the target. So this one is the target, the button. You start from the target, you go up to the ancestor. So this structure that we're seeing here, document, HTML, body, div, button, this one is a DOM structure, document object model structure. So just to get it clear for your understanding is that like the event here, what you're seeing is that it is bubbling up. It bubbles up when the event or the target from the clicked event or the clicked element. When you click here, okay, I'm trying to bring this one in a very good way. Okay, so picture this. When you click this button, what do you expect? You expect the entire page to load, right? So when you click a certain button, you expect it to respond to div, text the message to document, right? So that is what is happening. So let me give you a certain example so that you can say, okay, this guy was not talking about JavaScript. He was talking about JavaScript. Now, when you go here, you can just come and say div. Then you say button. Then you can say click me. Now, when I go here, let me navigate here. this other page. Now click me. So whenever I click here, I want something to happen. So what do I want to happen? Now let me write a few of event handlers here so that you can be able to see. Of course, I'm going to use the internal JavaScript. So I'm going to start by the usual one. Remember, this is the OM, so select elements. If you're not understanding these select elements and everything, we have the recordings, and please download the recordings before we delete them. This first 8 weeks, the first half of the cohort is about to end, and we are about to clean our Zoom account so that we can start a new slate. So here we can come and say const. Let's say div, something like that. Document dot query selector. What I want to access here is called div direct. This you know. My friends, this you know. So how about what you don't know? So what you don't know is that this is how we pick the element. Like I said, this one, div, this one is an element. You see, this one is an element, button. So where do you pick this button? You pick it from here. After you selected the element, after you have selected the element, it becomes a DOM element. So div is a DOM element. Then you can come and say add event listener. Then we are reacting to what? We are reacting to a click. We are reacting to a click. Then what function should operate here? So let me be a bit sneaky and use arrow function. Now, after using that, what I can say, let me do console log, or I can just do alert. Let us do alert. Div was a div clicked. So let us see. Remember, it is this div. We don't have any ID. That's why we are picking it directly. I can decide to use this one. Why am I using query selector? Yet, we have another option, we have another option, by the way. We have another option, which is get element by tag name. I can get it by tag name, which is div. But the problem about tag name is that I can have 1,000 divs. How can I specify? So should I come here and say index 0, which is the first one? Should I be doing that? No. So instead of doing all of that, because when I say index 0, I specify the first one, the first div to appear from the top. Instead of me doing that, I just rather do the query selector because it's going to pick one, which is there. The only one which is there. So it's going to be first come, first out. So let us see, when you click this button, what is going to happen? There you go. Click me. So what is happening here? We are using something called bubble propagation. So bubble phase, whereby we start right from the button. We go to the div, we go to the body, we go to the HTML, then we deliver it for the entire page. As you can see, click, the entire page is going to be responsive to that. You see? So we are starting from the button, we go to the div, we go to the body, we go to the HTML, then delivers it for the entire document. Thumbs up if you've understood, thumbs down if you're still floating, which is so much okay. Are you getting me? I think I'm well understandable, right? Now, that one is that. Let us do for the button. Let us do for the button. We are trying to achieve something here. Let us do for the other one. And then I'm going to give you a very funny analogy here. I'm going to give you a very funny analogy, which is to do with the event. But I think you guys are going to understanding what I'm trying to say. Early in the morning, I gave an analogy of a birthday, which we Googled with the guys here and we saw. But no problem, no problem. That thumbs down, what does it mean? Let me get your feedback before we even continue so that I do not lose you. Somebody is putting thumbs down. What is it about? Benjamin is floating. Let me allow you to raise your hand so that I can be able to see where you're floating. You raise your hand. I'm only picking two people for now. Two people. Raise your hand right now so that I can know. Stanley, talk to us.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Okay, I've managed to get the link to this class right now.
Mhm.
So, now I can see here you had created a button, and have you added those events? How did you manage to add those events for the buttons?
Are you able to see my screen?
Yeah, I can see the screen.
So if you can see the screen, I think, did you understand the document object model that we introduced in class a few days ago or a few weeks ago?
Yeah, the DOM.
Yeah.
Yeah, but about the query selector, that's where I do have a challenge. I'm used to using get element by ID.
So right now, we don't have an ID. We can put an ID if you want to. Remember, we have so many options, so many options. But why are you using query selector? Query selector picks it uniquely. So because you guys are used to that, let me just do it. So I can just come and put ID here and say um, div div DOM. Let me just do div DOM. Then I can come and change this one. Get element. We have so many options. Get element by ID. Then I can pick this guy. I can put this guy here. You see? So after doing that, it is going to all like perform just normally. I can come here, refresh, you see, it works. Or we have other methods. If you're not getting this one, you have another method. Another method is we can just come and say, have this one as a class. So when you say that as a class, you can say get element by class name. But because it's the first one, I'm assuming we have other divs, so I can just come and do 0. So when you come and do index 0 here, you're trying to say, I want you to pick the first div that comes when the page when the HTML starts, when you start coding on HTML. This is the first div that you see. So when you say class name, you get that one. So you get the first div, you see? So we have several options, but for now, let us stick with the one which is get element by ID. Are we there, Stanley?
Yeah, and okay, so for the query selector, how are you doing it?
So for the query selector, remember, back then I talked about the query selector. I was saying that the query selector, we have query selector and query selector all. So get element by ID, when you defer it like a query selector, get element by ID and get element by class name, the two have differences. One picks only something that is unique, elements that are unique. So get element by ID, you have only one ID per element. There's no repetition. But get element by class name, you can have so many class. So you just need to use the indices factor that I've just used. So the same thing applies for the query selector and the query selector all. So the query selector is the same as get element by ID, except when you say about query selector, you pick that one element that you want it to be unique. So let me just spot a difference on that. When you go to the internet and say uh, versus query selector all versus get element. Let me just do a spotlight the element by ID versus get element by class name. So let us see the difference. We are in week 7. So the difference between all of this is what? So let us see. So the query selector that we're talking about, the function returns the first element within the document. The first, remember, we have specified here what? Div. So if you have 1,000 divs, it's going to pick the first one because that's what we have. We fix the recordings on the LMS. Um, so returns a single element, which means it is unique. You see? And sometimes, most of the times, use cases that it has, outside DOM, it is a CSS selector. So when you have a class name, you pick it. But what we normally use it is that if multiple elements match the selector, only the first one is returned. So we are focusing, it is returning the first one, assuming that we have 1,000. So we are avoiding those index and something. And then when you talk about query selector, all this one goes with everything, like doesn't specify. So here you can be able to come and use the indices. Get element by ID behaves the same. So as you can see here, this method is highly efficient and is often faster than query selector for selecting ID. So when using get element by ID, it is better than query selector, but they work the same way. So this means they work the same way. Class name works the same as query selector all. I hope now you can get that. When using query selector all, you cannot use a class. You can only, when you work with query selector all, you can use a class, but when you're working with query selector, you have to use it differently. Stanley, are you getting now?
Yeah. So according to you, which is the best practice?
So the best practice, okay, for me, I'm just experimenting, I'm using anything, but just use the normal one, get element by ID, because it is direct. The reason why you are seeing here, they are saying it is faster than query selector is that query selector, it is going to check the list, then it's going to go for the first one. But get element by ID is going to go straight to the point. So go with get element by ID. So if you want to use it, slap an ID there, and then you're going to be okay.
Oh, okay, okay. Now understood.
Nice. So let me get the next person. Who else? Who else? Okay. I'm trying to fetch this thing. I don't know why it is disturbing me. Let me see. Somebody just raised their hand. I don't know. They dropped it up. Stanley again. Do, do you have any questions, Stanley, again?
Okay. Uh, s- Something that has caught my attention, yeah, on
Mhm,
JavaScript.
mhm,
Okay, personally, as an under developer, there are
mhm.
some naming conventions on the Kotlin programming language. So for here, I can see when you're creating a variable, you're using capital letters. Or is there a specific naming convention for JavaScript?
Exactly. So I think you have just brought it up, which is good. In my earlier class, the morning one, I told people we have casing. So we have several casing that match with languages, like snake casing, that is for Python. Camel casing, that is for JavaScript, Java, and I think Kotlin, I think. So we are using camel casing a lot. So this is the casing that we're using for JavaScript. When you go to Flutter, we have other casing that we have there. So for us, we're using camel casing. So you can just research on the internet to see what kind of casing is used in each kind of programming language. Because when you talk about get element by ID or get a query selector, all as you can see, it is all in camel casing. That's why we're using it that way. But for variable, for me, I just did it this way, which is very wrong, but it looks so weird. I'm supposed to use camel casing. For example, I can just come here and say div DOM. So that one is a camel case, which matches the coding convention for JavaScript.
Yeah, because I was confused. I was wondering, because the only way, according to Kotlin, the only way you can apply that is when you're naming constants. But a normal variable, haifai kuwa na those capital letters, so I was confused.
Yeah, it is just doing things in the moment. But for me, it was looking so weird. But I know it is camel casing. We
But
are
okay,
confused. Uh-huh.
let me hope you'll show us the best way of writing functions in JavaScript.
Yeah. The
Okay.
best way, I think, the best way to write functions, we have so many, but always do use the arrow functions because they work better. They're reusable well. Yeah, so be using them because they're beneficial. Other than this, all the functions that we normally use. It was active from EschemaScript 6, which was released in 2015. Let us proceed the class. I think you have gotten my point.
Yeah.
Another person? Yes. Hello, Cabello. Cabello, unmute, please.
Oh, yes. Hi.
Hi.
Oh, yeah, good day. I wanted clarity on what we are listening on. Like, are we listening on the div or the button? Or the div, when we listen to the div, it also affects the button on click.
So we are listening to the div, which
Yeah.
contains the button. Let me check. Hold on a minute. Yeah, we are listening to the div directly. So it is part of the, what do you call, these faces that we have. We have two faces, so it is part of that. So you're listening to the div.
So everything that is inside the div,
Yeah,
when we click it, is affected.
yeah, it is affected essentially. So no. What can I say? Yeah, anything that you click within this div is going to be affected. So it is going to react by that because the only feature that we have for clicking is the button. Yeah.
So
So you can
supposedly if
have
we
other
have,
elements here. Yeah.
oh, I was saying if maybe we had a paragraph within that div and then we click the paragraph, it's like we are also clicking the button.
No. You see, JavaScript is intelligence because intelligent in a way that if you indicate something that is clickable here, or let me bring it in a very good way. Let me bring it a good way. Uh-huh. Sometimes it's very confusing.
Because the way it looks like, it's like we are monitoring the parent of the button, not necessarily the button itself.
So we are listening to the div essentially. So what does this mean? I've just seen a good way to explain. So the code tells the browser when any part of this div, including the children. So you see the div is like a parent, the button is the child. So including the children. In this case, we have the button. When any part of this div is clicked, run this function. So if you directly click on the div, the handler fires. So when you directly click on the div. So the div is just like a wrapper. We can have anything out there. So
Yes.
if you click on the child element inside the div, the handler also fires because of the event publishing. So when you click on the div, so if this one was a button and also this one was a button, all of them, when you click this one, same action. When you click this one, same action. Only that this one is invisible. It is within something. Or I can just remove all of these. By the way, I can just remove all of these. I can just remove all of this and copy this one. It is going to still work, by the way. And then, yeah, just like that. So when I save, when I go to my browser, let us see, refresh, you see, it works. So the
Yeah.
way it works is that it is responding to this DOM that you are creating. So anywhere we have that, if it is the child or the parent, so if it is the parent, it is an advantage because everything, the parent and the child, anything that you click there, it is going to be affected at all. So for example, let me see a good way to spin this up. Uh, so let us have another button. I think this one will suffice. Let us say Y. So we have two. So when I click this one, works. And I click this one, works. So I can have 1,000 buttons. Any button that I click within the div, inside, or the div itself is going to work. Is it clear now?
Yes, I suppose including paragraphs.
So let us see if you can work with the paragraph, by the way. Let us see. Paragraph, hello. Yeah, you can see.
Uh,
In fact, any space that you're clicking, any space that you're clicking.
yeah.
So this paragraph affects that. Yeah, so are you getting the point?
Yes, yes. Thank you.
Ivy, Ivy, Ivy is not talking. Thank you, Kahindi, for sharing the casing. Ivy, are you able to hear me? Let us go to the next person. I cannot see the next person. All right, let us proceed. We have a lot to cover. Let me just disable this part so that I can go. Yeah. Also this part for focus, and also this part. Yeah, it is called house rules. Now, people, I think now we are getting the point. I'm very happy for that. Now, we have another way. So we have talked about all of this because we can also stop the propagation. So we want to prevent something from appearing. We can do that. We can do when you do event propagation, you can also stop them. But my focus is not that. So, mhm. So when you do event propagation, you can prevent certain parts from reacting. But that one, what you have been doing here it is part of what we call bubble. It is part of what called event bubbling. So we are going up. So we are going from the target up. So what I can cover next is real world cases for using this what we call event handlings, like what you can do blur, you can do all of this, you can do overlays, like when you have seen whereby you click something. I think you have heard of something called models. This UI is that when you click the pop-up, then the background, it is like blur, it's a bit darkish, but then it works only on this side. Some people might say it works with the zero indexing. Okay, it works okay, but not that effective. So when you work with things like add event listeners, like for the overlay, you prevent the background from being visible, then only the model is now much visible. You can blur certain backgrounds, you can blur and focus on certain inputs, and so on. When you prevent for the form from submitting, you know that function that we normally write, which is called prevent default. Prevent default, this one. This function is really important because it prevents you from refreshing the page, hence losing data. So we are going to be seeing this because, try to understand this class, because even in Manstack, if you pick a Manstack specialization, you're going to find these things. And then I'm not going to treat you guys as beginners. I'm going to treat you guys as intermediates, because this one is a beginner course. The specialization is an intermediate course. So please try to adhere and do your own research. Do your own research. Me, I'm just giving you the peck in your mouth. but then the whole plate is for you to devour. So the whole plate is the internet, we have AI and so on. But before go to AI, first understand the concepts. Because AI is just used to throwing codes. Now, people, I think we have done all of these things. Let us handle 2 projects, then you can call it a session. Let us handle 2 projects, then you can call it a session. Let me think, what kind of project you can do? In the morning, we did a calculator function and a to-do list. Let me see. Huh. Uh, okay. To-do list. Can we do a to-do list? Let us do 2 projects, then we can be able to call it a session. If it will be hard, I can just do one, then I think I can just leave it at that. I'm trying to think of a project that is going to sum it all. A project that is going to have function, DOM, event listeners, and so on, things like those. I think I've just thought of them. Yeah, yeah. I think that will work. So let us do a student grading game. So what we are going to do there is something great, like we are going to build a grading system where a user enters a name of a student and their score, and the system calculates the grade from A to F. Okay, we are saying F, we are not saying E. Why? I'm having this campus spirit. Yeah, the most recent educational achievement that I had maybe is a degree. So we have A, B, C, D, and F, no E. So then displays the results on the table. It might seem simple, but there are some of the DOM things that we want to see in there. After there, then we can do the usual one, which I know you guys know, the rock, paper, scissors game. I don't know if some of you know how to play it, but in our class today, I'm not going to focus on CSS. I'm not going to focus on HTML. My focus is fully on JavaScript because that one is the, oof, yeah, if you get it, forget about it. If you don't get it, forget about it. So, grading.html. Or let me get other questions before I jump on this. Is there any other person that I'm blocking out? Raise your hand. Is there any other person? I've opened the chat, I've opened the raising up of the hands. Should we continue? No reactions. Should we continue? Nice. Even if you're floating, just move along and it gets better. So, okay. So let us continue. We'll be finishing on time to allow you guys to rest. I have another class like this one in the evening. I've been teaching for a while. I started teaching mathematics when I was in high school back then. How many years ago? I don't know. Close to 15. So I used to teach mathematics. It was scary for some teachers, but anyway, I wanted to be a teacher. Then God did his thing. Then I went to computer. While in campus, I was doing cybersecurity degree. I taught things to do with, I taught people mathematics there, numeric analysis, number theory, cryptography, steganography, calculus 1, 2, 3. I taught people for money, not free. After that, they were conducting boot camps. These boot camps, I was hired by lecturers to train. You see, lecturers, they know how to teach theory. But for me, I knew how to train it. So I was training on boot camps sponsored by Google and TensorFlow for data science. I did it. The last one I did, I think, was in 2023. At that time, I was not a student anymore, but I was going there for the boot camps. I trained. The last training that I did that scared people was data engineering. I spent data engineering using Azure. I trained people for 3 good hours. I think half of the class understood really well, and others were just blank because it's either you get it or you don't get it. So I've been training. So I wanted to be a teacher. I'm a teacher, but not for high school. I wanted to be a teacher in high school so that I can punish people. You see, I was being caned back then in high school. So I wanted to do the same. So, but God prevented me to do that, which is a good thing. So I went to training now for tertiary level. So I've been training for a while, and that is my thing. I love teaching, especially programming and other things. Yeah. Here we are. Fate, I can say fate is just something really nice. So let us proceed just on a light note to brighten the class. Now, people, we are talking about a grading system. Like I said, a grading system, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, but I'm not going to focus on HTML and CSS for now. These things you know. I'm going to focus on JavaScript alone, as I explained. So, HTML5. So, student grading system. Let us fire this one up. So it is blank, good. So the next thing I just want to see is the styling. So for the style, I just want to use internal styling. I'm compacting everything together for a reason. I'm not going to focus on CSS unless it is something that you guys really need to know. Otherwise, you can see it is just fonts, pixels, colors, and so on. So it is not something great that you can be able to say, okay, it is hard, it's hard. No, no, no. It is not for a bit. So let me focus on, but I'm not a trainer entirely, like full-time. No, no, no. I'm a software engineer also by profession. Apart from just training, I also code it. I like coding. The last time I was writing programming, I was coding was around from around 3 to 4, around there, 4 to 5 there. Well, like 2 to 3 hours there. I was building a system using blockchain backend, Next.js frontend. Yeah. And I was not using JavaScript, I was using TypeScript. So student grading. So let me just copy everything about the HTML. I don't want to delve deeper into this. These are just basics. So let us see. So it looks like this one about there. Yeah. So I want when I enter a name, a grading, then I add it. I can see the name, the score, the grade, and the feedback. So the feedback is going to be attached to the grade. If it is A, you're going to get excellent. If it is B, you're going to get blah, blah, blah. So we are going to do that in JavaScript. And as you can see, it is really nice. It is really nice, looks really nice. It's not yet mobile responsive, but yeah, it is something good. So this one is failing because, as you can see, we have some empty JavaScript that are needed here. Now, this one is a student grading system. As you can see, the HTML is really slick. It's really slick, as you can see. CSS is much. Grading, as you can see, we have a form, a div for the form and a div for the table. It is good to do that. Now, let us do JavaScript. Now, pay attention. This is where a lot of people go astray. Now, first things first, we are going to start just define or just define a variable that is going to carry the student count. So we put it as 0. We initialize at 0. After that, don't worry if sometimes I might not be closing my JavaScript lines using the semicolon. JavaScript is going to understand. So function. So get grade. I can use function. I can use arrow functions if I want to. But let me just go with what people know. So function, get grade. So the grade that you're getting, you're carrying a parameter score. So inside there, I'm going to put this conditional. So if score is greater than or equals to 90, so it is greater than or equals to 90, we put it at, let's give it a return of that, then you say grade. So A, so if you put A, then you can slap a feedback there. You can slap a feedback and say excellent. Just like that. What am I missing? What am I missing? I think no. So I want to do the same for the others. That one, I think four I think will suffice. So greater than or equals to 80, greater than or equals to 70, then greater than or equals to 60. And then below 60, let us give you an F. So B, C, D. We have universities that consider D as 60. So good. Yeah. If you have not gotten anything that is here, so we can just return something like an F. So just copy this one. So we slap you an F. This one is the otherwise. You need to be serious. You need to be serious, man. So, okay, so I think that's it. That's the conditional. Very simple, well defined out. It's not a must that you go down. You can just go horizontal. Now, let us add a function to add a student. Now, to add a student, what should happen? So function, add student. So to add this student, empty parameter for now, I think. So we are going to take the name. What are we taking first? We are supposed to take a name. So take the name and say document. So we are taking it and fetching it from the user. And I'm going to teach you something. Document dot get element by ID. So let's go back here. Are you seeing something here? Here, we are fetching data from the user. And when you're fetching a text input, you should have in mind that we have white spaces. So how do you remove white spaces? So first things first, when you fetch, so we come and say student name. So we are fetching the value for this student name. So I can leave it at that, or I can come here down and say name. Let me use something that is much std name, yeah, bit conspicuous. So std name. Then I can say dot value dot, I want to trim. So I'm trimming the trailing and preceding white spaces. I want pure value without anything, without anything. So I can do this one, or I can just take it from here and I can put it here, just like that. So however you prefer, you just do it your way. So because I don't want so many lines, let me just do it like that. So that is the, let me go get the score, std score. So document dot get element by ID. So what are we fetching? We are fetching the student score. So, but this one is on arrange cases. So what can we do? So when you give that number, you are giving it in form of a number, but we want to pass it. So we have something called pass int. So what is pass int? So let us first complete it. So student score. Then we can say dot value. It is not a text, so we don't need to trim anything. So because it's a, what do you call it? Because it's a number, let us use pass int so that we can be able to be strict. So we are going to use something called pass int. So pass int, what is pass int essentially? Because we should not be just using things that we don't know. So pass int function is defined with two parameters, a string to pass and a number indicating a numeric base to assume. That one is a very complicated explanation. So pass int is JavaScript. In JavaScript is used to convert string to integers. Have that in mind. So something like this, as you can see, number dot percent. So we can have that because when you're giving the input, you're giving it as a string. So we have to interpret it as numbers so that you can be able to read it in the system as numbers, regardless if they are saying here type number, regardless of this, because somebody is going to say, okay, they're saying here type number, but this is JavaScript, a very careless language, which you should not, when you're not careful, you're going to mess big time. So for us, we are going to wrap it up. So we are going to say here, when I'm saying pass careless language, I'm not meaning it in a very bad way. So convert strings to integers. We have pass float and also we have pass int. JavaScript is a good language, but when you advance in coding, you're going to know better. Now that's it. So pass int. After that, after doing that, let us now proceed. So conditionals. So if the person has entered something, if the person has not given a name or the person has not given something that is not a number, or the score is less than 0, or the score is above 100. Because I know somebody is trying to crucify me by saying, okay, you're saying if greater than or equals to 90, what if it is 1 million? No, that is what we are going to achieve here. So it is, you have to know better. So if you have not given a name, so you negate. So not name, or somebody tells you, somebody comes and tells you, I love you. Then you say, are you getting the point? Are you getting the point? It's just basically saying no. Don't love you, but you're saying yes, but they're going to assume you're telling them yes. If you're getting the point, I think you're getting my point now for the name. So name or using gets. So is none. So is none. If you're not given a number for the score, we should crucify you, or you're given a score that is less than 0. We don't have negative scores. Or you've given a score that is greater than 100. You have given a score that is greater than 100, that is what you're going to get for here. So you have to put some logics to streamline some things. So you slap that person with an alert, a big alert. Then you come and say, Uh, no, this one is now being petty. I know. If I had emojis, I'd just slap them there. So then you return. I'm trying to make programming fun. Come on. Now, that one, we have just created that now. How about the feedback? How about the table? How do we feed that? So it's easy. So come and say, let us pass a few things here. So grade and feedback. So what do we do with this? So we come and say, let us inject them and say get grade. Then you say score. And then you can come and say, sorry, my head. So you come and say, let us constitute this table, a table body. So how do we achieve that? So document dot query selector. I can use query selector anytime. Why am I using query selector this time? I want to use query selector for a few reasons. Let me see, where is it? So I want to create something. I want to create an ID. Remember, it's a table that is coming up. So we have this ID and we have this T-body. This one, this is what we want. So we are going to use this one. So that's why I want to use query selector. So I'm going to use query selector for this one because it's something that I can use. Or if it is too much to ask, I can say, let us use get element by ID, but I want to combine two things at a go. So if I want to combine two things at a go, I just want to use something that is going to sum it all up. So not specifically, like query selector doesn't specify if it's an ID, if it is a class, if it's a tag name, it doesn't specify. So it picks all of it. So query selector, I'm not using it for the reason that you are assuming, but so grades table, then T-body. So you see, it is combining. I'm able to combine the grades table ID. As you can see, it's an ID. The reason I'm doing this is because this is a CSS selector. Then we have T-body, which is an empty table body that we are having here. Then grades table it is. Now we proceed. We are doing well so far. We are doing well so far. So let us see. What do we have so far here? I'm not going to perform any functions here unless I'm done. So after getting, remember the count that we initialized here? Student count equals 0. So we can now increment it by 1. Student count incremented by 1. If you're understanding the function, you can just sometimes scan this to AI so that you can be able to understand it well. Yeah. So after that, let us create a row. It is now time to create things that are not there. So const row, you can say document dot create element, right? TR. So we are creating a table row out of nowhere. And then in this table row, I want something to happen. So what do I want to happen? I can just take this row that I've just created here, row.in.html. Now this one is the danger that some people normally encounter when they work in security. You are trying to tell a hacker, I'm using this kind of element. But in the essence, we can resort to using in HTML for now. Why? We are using it because we know that we're creating a table. Thumbs up if I'm audible. So yeah, sorry. I thought I lost power there because my monitor went off for a second there. So I'm using in HTML here because I know I'm creating that. So I use backticks. So I'm using backticks because it allows me a leeway of working on certain things here. So I can just come and say, like something like table data. Then because it's dynamic, I can just slap something like student count. So table data student count, then I can close it, PD, something like that. So I'm getting the count in the first, in this row, I'm getting the count in the first, what do you call row itself, the top row. And then I can go and say TD. Let me first of all create these things because they are many. And then copy, slap there. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. Why is it not copy? There. So I'm using backticks, not single quotes. Don't mistake me for that, so that I can go to use these dynamics. So they are called template literals. Literals. Hey, that English, I'm going to bite my tongue one day. They are called template literals. You're going to browse on that on your own time. So name. And then what do we have here? So we can come and say we need to have a score as well. So this one, let us make it a bit interesting. So it is grade, but we are going to make it a bit interesting. Why? I want it to have this kind of feeling. So let us have a class. Remember, it's just like a normal thing. So grade. But you see what I'm doing here? Somebody is asking, how are you able to do that? It's very simple. This is now what we call JavaScript, not JavaScript. Now, we're able to move along with all of these things. Let us do the last one, which is feedback. Feedback. Now, people have just created something that is going to populate all of this. Student count, student name, student score, student grade, student feedback. The count, name, score, grade, feedback. This grade is in a special way. Why? Because it is going to match with all of this. As you can see, it is going to match a lot with all of that, the table body. Now, we are not done. Let us now append it. You see, you are done doing that, but you're not done entirely. You have to append it. So there's two things. You can do append or prepend, but because it is a table that is after, so you're going to append it. So append child, then you append the row. So I want it to now be permissible to appear here. So let us see if it is going to work. So right now I can come and say, let me pick my name. Let me give myself 75. When I click add, come on, man, you need to be serious. So I'm not supposed to give that number. So let us give a number that is 70. Come on, why isn't it working? Why did I go wrong, man? Let me see, let me see, let me see. Let me remove this. Don't know if it can be the issue. Yeah, I think I know why. I think I know why. I think I might just know why it is doing that. I hate it when I code, then it brings me errors. I hate it. Let me finish coding what I'm doing first, then I'm going to see why. Let me finish coding what I'm doing here. So here you can come and decide to clear single. can come and say get element. As I think where the issue might be, I just have to scan the code base here. The student. Dot value. Yeah, we're just clearing the value, so empty. Put it as empty. And then the same, we want to replicate the same for the score. Like after entering things, I want it to be clear, or I can just decide outside here, let me just have a function to clear all. Like when I clear all, so function, call it clear all. So that it can be easier for me to just clear everything. So I can just, there's this thing of mine. Let me just copy it. I can clear the table itself. So document dot query selector. Now what am I doing? So query selector dot in HTML, I think. I'm trying to erase everything from the core of it. And then I reset the student count to 0. Oh, let us see, let us see, let us see, let us see. Scan here. We are okay in this point, but this alert is overdoing itself. With the issue. Scanning. I think the pass int, yeah. Kiswahili zetu tumejikoroga. I think this is the problem. Yeah, this one is the problem. I think I made an issue here. So what I can do here, let me rectify my issue. This percent should not be the case. Okay. So const is good to make mistakes. Then you learn from your mistakes. So input, score input. Let us see. So for the score input, what am I doing here? Is equals to document dot get element by ID. The element that you're fetching here is score. Yeah, you guy, come here. And then what we want to take from that is value. Let us also trim it because I don't know. I think that also might be another issue. And then let me now convert that score into a number. So the reason I'm using value trim, I'm assuming it's a text. So let me have another separate thing now to make sure that everything goes well. So score equals to, so number, then I wrap around score input. So in this way, I'm able to see. Now here, I'm able to come and take that one and put it there. No. That one, you leave it that, or you can just come and add another one. Name, empty, or score is none, blah, blah, blah. So we can add another one here. You can come and say score input. It is empty as well, because somebody might be entering something that is empty as well. Yeah, there you are. I think that's it. Okay, let us see if you're talking or just okay. This is good. This is good. I see where the issue is. So add student is not defined. What? Why is it not defined? Let me see. Few errors. Seriously. I think I might have some few issues. Yeah, I might have some few issues. Yeah. This is the issue now. People, this is the issue. This one here. I'm using name, and yet I'm not supposed to use STD name. Yeah, that might be the issue. And then the somewhere I'm using is null instead of that one. I think now you're cool. Yeah, now you're cool. So let us see. Ikata now, it is now going to offend me. There you go. So let us take another person, Stanley, if you don't mind. Give 90, add. So as you can see, it is populating. I can clear the table if I want to. Let us pick another name. Who wants? Let us see. Let me see the name. We have Alfred. Give Alfred 60. Uh, just a number. Don't worry. We have Alice. Alice has joined how many times? Or I'm seeing my own things. Alice 80. There you go. So it populates the values as we go. But now the name is not showing. The name is not showing. I've just realized that now. Yeah, I think I know why. You see, I changed there, STD name, but I didn't change here. There you go. I think that's done. Let us do another one. Can we do another one? Let me get your feedback. Debugging, yeah. So if I'm a developer, but I make mistakes. The code is going to be shared. Can I do another one? Okay. No, we are not doing a payment system. That is too long. Thank you, Linda. For me, I didn't see the error actually. Hacking system, seriously. This is our HTML class, man. Okay. So we are not going to use APIs. I don't know. We are going to use APIs in the specialization, not in the basics, because we are not using database. I don't know. So it is upon you to, I think your database class or instructor should be telling you that. Let us do a rock, paper, scissors. Rock, paper, scissors. So I'm going to spin this one really quick. HTML5. Rock, paper, scissors. Of course, our CSS. Let me just copy it from my code base. You see, sometimes when I code, I don't actually check. And what I code is not what I can bring here and copy, except for the CSS that I copy. Other things, I don't exactly. So let us do the CSS HTML. And then let us see, let us stop that one and go live again. There you go. So when I click this one, this one, this one, something should happen. So as per the code base for this one is not long. Yeah, it's not long. Let us see. Okay, so we go for the script. Now, first things first, let us define our choices. So const choices. So we are talking about an array of words. So we have rock, and then we have paper. I want to go to a meeting, so let me get this one done quickly. Scissors. Don't mind the spelling. Now, after doing that, let us define the player score and the computer score. Because we're playing against the computer, we are assuming the computer in this case, JavaScript function that you have just written. So let me just make it shorter. So because I don't want to code everything, my focus is on the other side. So player, I'm going to explain. So we are defining the player score starting from 0, the computer score starting from 0. And when we come here, we bring it to so when we come here, we are talking about the function play having a parameter player choice. So you're supposed to be playing. So the computer is going to use the math flow. So just to explain this in a good way so that you people can be able to understand, because some people are going to be very confused. So let me walk you through the function, the play function, what it does. So what it does, we have that function defined, but the most important thing that you're supposed to understand is we are starting, the function is called when the user clicks on one of the three buttons, that is the rock, paper, or scissors. So the player choice is the user selection. So the player choice that you're seeing here is the user selection. That's why it's a parameter. So what you choose is going to fall inside here, which you have just put it here. So it is going to be passed from the buttons when the on-click play rock happens. You're going to see it down here. So we have it here. Where's that function in HTML? Here it is, or here. So on click, play on click. So it happens like that. So the computer is going to generate a certain number. So the generating of the choice from the computer. So it is going to say the choice. So this one is an array. We already know that this one is an array. But within the array, we have rock, paper, and scissors, right? So the math.random that you're seeing here, I like explaining from inward to outward. So math.random, what happens is going to return a random number between 0 and 1. That is what is going to happen. So when that is happening, we can see if this is going to return between 0 and 1, any random number. So it is either on or off. That's what I'm talking about. So it's going to return a random number between 0 and 1. And then we are going to give it a float between 0 and less than 3. So that's why we are saying this something like this. We are going to give it a float between 0 and less than 3. So that random number multiply by 3. So we are going to give it that. Now, how about the floor? So this one is going to round that down to 0, 1, or 2. 0, 1, or 2. So math flow. I know. Somebody's asking, now, what are you talking about, man? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? So don't worry. Let me continue. But before I continue, for you to better understand this, so this one helps the computer pick randomly, like any option. Pick one option randomly. That's what I'm talking about. Rock or paper or scissors. So let me explain this one in English for your understanding. So when we need the computer to randomly choose, right? So just flipping a coin, when you flip a coin, but this time it is between 3 options: rock, paper, scissors. So the math random, so it is going to give us a random number between 0 and almost 1. I need you to take 3 divided by 2. How much do you get? Or that one is going to be a bit harsh. So while it's going to give us something like that between 0 and 1 or almost 1, we multiply that by 3. So the value that is going to happen in that math random, we are going to multiply by 3, as you can see there. So this one gives us a number between 0 and just around 3 there. Just under 3. So like it can be 1.5, 1.6, and so on. So the math flow, what it does, it's going to remove everything after the decimal point. So when I talk about float, it's going to remove everything after the decimal, then you remain with that number, not rounding off, but rounding down. Even if it is 1.7 or 1.9, it is going to go to 1. That is the meaning of rounding down. You see? So that one is going to give us 0, maybe rock, 1, paper, 2, scissors. So you grab 3 choices that you have in the list. 3 choices, why? Because 1 is of index 0, 1 is index 1. No, 0 is index 1, 1 is index 2, 2 is index 3. Just the normal indices that we normally have. So the computer might randomly end up with something like rock, paper, scissors, or just paper or rock. So the simple analogy, imagine like in a spinning wheel with 3 equal parts. So remember, a wheel that is spinning can be a vehicle wheel or a bicycle or a motorbike wheel. It has 3 equal parts. All these parts, each part rock, we have paper, we have scissors. So every time you spin it, an arrow lands on one. So that is what this line of code is talking about. So we are spinning 3 things. This is not just like flipping a coin, just throwing a coin up, then you are trying to flip it, getting head or tail. No, this is getting 3 things. So it can end up on that. That's why the math is not mathing for you right now, but don't worry. Never mind. The point is to explain how JavaScript is going to work here. You don't worry about anything else. Yeah, don't worry. Now, let us proceed. So we initialize the text, as you can see here. Then we want to compare choices, determine the outcome. So this is what you're going to do here. So if both are selected at the same time, it's a draw. What you're seeing here. Otherwise, or else if player choice is rock and the computer choice is scissors, or player choice is paper and computer choice is rock, or the player choice is scissors, they are going to learn rock, paper, scissors so that you can be able to understand the logic, so and so on. So the result is you win. You as the player wins and beats the computer. So try to understand this, rock, paper. So rock and scissors, which one is going to win? Rock. Then you can see we have paper, rock. Then we have scissors, paper. So if you do the math well, the player is going to win. If you don't understand rock, paper, scissors, go and learn online. Then you come to this program and you can see how it is going to work. So you lose when the computer beats you. Then you take all of that, you create a text content and slap it inside the results. Remember, results is an empty text that you have created, initially the text. So you create that result that you have just brought up from the front end, then you bring it up and put it here. Then you update the scoreboard. So where is this scoreboard? So let me bring it up. Where is it? Where is it? Let me bring it up. The scoreboard. So the scoreboard is here. So same thing, it's going to create a text content. Just try to update. So player then gives that, then the computer gives it that. So it's going to update. You 1, computer 0, and so on. It's going to keep iterating on that. After that, let us reset the game and start afresh. So that's what you're going to do here. So you reset the game to 0, 0, 0, everything, go back. So let us see if we are talking nonsense here. So rock is a draw. Then rock again. Then let me refresh. Rock again, I lose. So it's all about mathematics. Rock again, I win. You see? Rock again, I win. So it's a matter of a wheel spinning, then we have 3 parts. So when I throw a dart on that or an arrow, the number that is going to land on, that is the mathematics that is being done here. People, that is the mathematics that is being done in this line. So line 83 is what is determining what is happening in the rock, paper, scissors. So paper, come on, why is it not working? So this thing has stopped working, why? So play is not defined, why? Line 66, 67. Keep getting so many errors, I don't know why. How am I getting these weird things here? Yeah, there you go. As you can see, just about mathematics. And it seems that the computer is trying to win against me. Then I can click reset game, we go back. Simple. Let me share the code. Let me open the forum for questions. I don't think, okay, if you're flawed, maybe for the number because you didn't understand how rock, paper, scissors work, but that's how the mathematics around rock, paper, scissors work. So let me open the forum. I don't know. Just don't know, then we can end the session. I don't know if you have gotten something out of this class or I've been talking to myself, but you're going to tell me that. Speak, people, speak, speak, speak. The code is going to be shared right now. So let me open 2 forums. If you have any question, I want to open the Q&A. Don't know. So you can ask any question on the Q&A as I push the code, or you can raise your hand. Yeah, I'll be uploading them. The morning, the afternoon, and the evening. I'm going to upload them at the end of the lesson today. Seriously, people asking so many questions. I want you guys to ask questions relating to the class today. When when you use JSON to add data, is it a must to have a database? Yeah. Mostly, yeah, but not entirely, yeah. Last week recording, week 5 or 6, week 6 recording for last week. This week is week 7. Is specialization an option? And if so, will you graduate if you don't specialize? I don't know if what their decision is this time, but we are going to find that some people don't want to specialize. So the final project is going to be this one that you're doing for basics, but we advise you to specialize. It is going to be fun. If you ask any question on the chats, I'm not going to get it. I'm going to answer it live here, or you can just raise your hand. I want to see on the chat your feedback, your personal feedback. That is what I want to see. For mine, I did in Kabarak University. To unzip, I don't know which operating system you're using. If you're using Windows, just unzip it. I don't know how you unzip on Windows. I'm using Linux. For the session I'll be covering in a week, I'm going to decide on that because I don't want to be repeating myself like I'm doing right now. Morning session, afternoon, evening. I want one session in the morning, like the previous cohort, but that one is going to be determined after long conversation, whether if it is going to be effective or not. But I prefer one session, morning, afternoon session for consultation because the recording is going to be found on the LMS. One recording, not 3 recordings for the same class. Can all this manipulation be done? Yeah, you can do that. How is the man stack structured since I'm going to, yeah, so man stack is MongoDB, Express, React, Node. So Node is a runtime environment. Express is a backend framework for JavaScript. React is, of course, the UI. And MongoDB, we have MongoDB for database, no SQL. So we start with MongoDB, then Express, then React, then we do our WebSockets. Then week 4, we do man stack, combining the three, all of them to create a full stack application. Then week 5, we do WebSockets to mimic how WhatsApp people can text and you can see somebody's typing, somebody's online, things like those. And then we have DevOps, then deployment project, things like that. And also we have debugging. For me, because you have already understood web development really well, go for Manstack. Not to do a campaign or anything, go for Manstack. AI for software engineering is another realm. If you have not understood Python, machine learning is going to be a challenge for you. Plus, even if you do AI for software engineering, how do you deploy? You deploy using a web application. So that's why full stack is great. I'm bringing the repo right now. I don't know how they are going to structure the picking of. I don't know how they're going to structure picking of modules, but I don't know because new cohort, 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 If you have a question, put it on the Nini. I'm going to see it there. Somebody share this one. So our session is the afternoon session. Any point that one wants to put across before I end the session, feedback or anything, just tell me. How was the session? How did you enjoy it, or how did I frustrate you? Please. Linux, Ubuntu. Any question, any question, any question? People are not talking, so I think I might just end the session. I don't know. Give me the feedback. How was the session entirely? Don't know what else you're talking about. Is there an app you are using to block trackers or ads? I'm using Brave. I'm using Brave. Brave browser is the best. If I eventually want to eventually do a DevOps, which start with Manstack, because you're going to automate your deployment. You're going to automate your deployment of the backend and the front end. The best way to, if you want to do DevOps, start with my class, because for me, I do the best DevOps. Like I've done it before. I've done it before, writing GitHub workflows and everything. Let me share the code. Okay. Thank you, people. Let me jump on the next meeting.